The following is the views of MC and Jester. If you don't like our views, do not listen to our podcast.
Welcome to Me Podcast. You listen with Jester and MC.
Welcome to Me Podcast. You listen. Again, this is Jester. I'm here with MC, and our special guest today, again, is one of the greatest wrestlers in the Southwest, independent wrestlers. Has been on major events, wrestled with major superstars. We're glad to have him back here, and they're going to discuss. So please welcome to the stage, welcome to the show, is Ramrock.
Thanks for having me, Jester, MC. It's a pleasure to be back.
So we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss the Crown Jewel Part 2, Crown Jewel Part 2, as we get into the events and the actual matches.
Too much whiskey in there, or what?
Yeah, actually, I did. It's early in the morning here because we have to make sure. Because again, I mentioned that MC is in Guatemala, still trying to get back over the border
on a caravan.
So he's filming this right now, recording this in the trailer. So we're going to go ahead and discuss the matches of the Crown Jewel. And I'm going to probably just cut in and out because these two guys are wrestling superstars here. And so I'm going to let them take the stage. So go ahead, guys.
Rock, I'll let you start just to break it down match by match because this we talked about the intro last show, just starting with the first match of the event. I'll let you start. I'll chime in with my thoughts as well.
Sounds good. So, yeah, this whole Crown Jewel event was around the best in the world tournament, which could possibly be construed as a shot against CM Punk, but we'll get into that a little later. Yeah. The first match up in the first round tournament was Rey Mysterio versus Randy Orton. Now, I don't know about you, MC and Jester, but as a fan, I was very excited to see Rey come back. But then Randy Orton came out as his opponent and kind of lost a lot of steam. I feel like Randy Orton's a little tired. So what were your thoughts on that first match?
Yeah, with a match, I usually should start with like a hot open. I remember a lot of their matchups, and it was amazing. I wanted to mention you had, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Kurt Angle, all co-main evented WrestleMania 22 in Chicago. I think it was 2006. To the fact that they're just here, 12 years later, still wrestling in this tournament and stuff, I thought was interesting. But I think I've seen a lot better matches between Rey and Randy Orton. This one, I don't think they were given probably a whole lot of time either. It's just kind of, I don't know. This one I kind of think was a little more disappointing for the match. I don't know about you guys.
So when you say that it's disappointing, it's like what are some parts that were you expecting something different out of the match? Was it just slow? What was your disappointment in the match?
Truth be told, I mean, these guys are both, at this point in time, the word legendary, I feel, is thrown around way too much. But I really feel like these two guys fit into the whole best of the world category. They've been around a long time. They're both multifaceted champions. And that's something I also want to note. I thought it was really cool that the ring announcer was announcing these guys' credentials prior to coming out to the ring. So you'd say, this guy is a 5-time world champion. This guy is a 10-time King of the Ring winner. Like, he was announcing their credentials, and I thought that was really cool. And maybe they were just doing that for the Saudi Arabian fans because they weren't familiar with the product, but that was I really enjoyed that aspect of this show. But to answer your question, I don't know. Like, Randy Orton has just been boring me for like the last 5 years. I just feel like it's just the same stick over and over and over. And maybe some people like that, but I just, I think that people who are in the business for 10 years or longer need to learn how to reinvent themselves. And I just feel like Randy Orton has not gotten there yet. But seeing Rey back, this is the first time, or the first or second time in recent memory that Rey has recently come back to the WWE. So that was exciting, but just overall the match was disappointing. And it was really how it ended. I mean, they ended it with Rey Mysterio winning with a roll-up pin. And really, like, the way the announcers kind of called it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he won. Like making it a big deal. Like, it was a big upset. that Rey Mysterio beat Randy Orton with a roll-up pin, and it's like it shouldn't have been called that way. Rey has beaten plenty of guys. I don't call this match an upset win, so that's kind of why I was disappointed in it.
Don't you think that all matches, though, in the beginning, just like any other show, should probably not overshadow the main event? So I think the idea when they do this is they probably started off with a very low impact. Like you said, sometimes they should come out and have the big pops, everybody gets excited. But sometimes I think that when they look at it, they probably want to build the anticipation. So maybe in that opinion, maybe they just want to make it a simpler match so people can kind of get into it and then kind of build up from there.
Go ahead, Dempsey.
Yeah, no, I think, the hot opener is kind of not to the point where it overshadows the main event, of course, but that's kind of been the staple of like the structure of and having promoted wrestling events. You traditionally want to have guys, with a lot of back and forth and, hotter stuff, especially nowadays, to try and get with the times and stuff. Yeah, you'll get the engine revving basically, so you're kind of just, maybe this wasn't the greatest choice, and maybe the matchups themselves. I don't know if I necessarily would have agreed with these pairings, because a lot of these pairings you've seen before. Like, and even when they went into the next round, as we'll discuss and stuff, it's stuff you've seen. So maybe this wouldn't have been my choice for the top two, even though it's cool to see Ray and Randy go at it again. I think in a first round with a limited amount of time, maybe this isn't the forum I would have liked to have seen this match take place, because I don't know if it really helped showcase both of them and the work they can do as legends, as Ramrock said. I don't know if this was the placement on the card where I would have had this match to showcase both of them to their umpteenth degree, so to speak.
Okay, so I was just curious as a person outside, not really critiquing it that much. I just wanted to get kind of a bigger idea of why you guys thought it was why it was kind of disappointing. So, thank you.
Yeah, I think that that kind of sums it up for me. Just like. I think a new rivalry between the two would be fresh, and maybe this will springboard to it, because given the nature of the RKO after the finish, which Randy kind of got his heat back after Ray won, and then just kind of, bludgeoned him a little bit, which was good, to set up something, if that's what they choose to do between the two of them. I'm trying to remember on SmackDown if they followed up on this or not. From what I've seen on SmackDown, I don't believe maybe this has been followed up yet.
So Rey Mysterio goes over. He makes it to the semifinals. Next up, we got Jeff Hardy versus The Miz. Jeff Hardy, he's getting older. He's run a whole high-risk career. Lots of injuries, lots of past demons, as he put in his promo prior to this match. And The Miz, I feel, is extremely underrated. As of lately, especially with his Intercontinental title reigns, I feel like The Miz has really stepped up. He's really become a solid worker, and honestly, I kind of wish WWE would push this guy into a main event spot. What are your thoughts on that, MC?
I thought this was one of the best matches actually on the card, for the reasons I was saying that maybe the Ray and Randy Orton match lacked. This one actually should have been the opener. If I was constructing the card, they actually worked at a high octane pace, given the limited probably time frame they were given for their match. I thought Miz actually worked up to the pace of a Jeff Hardy level, where a lot of times Miz could be critiqued, by Daniel Bryan for working either lazy or whatever. I wouldn't say that, but maybe that was just storyline shots at him from Daniel Bryan's character. But Miz actually worked really hard, like you were saying, very underrated. He stepped it up, and this match actually was one of my favorite matches on the card, maybe, save for the AJ and Joe and maybe the main event, just for the sheer gutsiness of the performers there. But I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. I thought this was a very solid match for the small time they were given. I felt like the match worked, and it probably should have been the opener.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that?
I would have to agree with you 100% on that.
Do you think that did Matt Hardy do any high risk maneuvers or anything like that, or not Matt Hardy? Was it Matt Hardy or it was Matt Hardy, right? Jeff Hardy.
You're close.
Jeff Hardy did it. Did he do any high risk maneuvers or anything like that to kind of be like that's a staple of his wrestling style?
Yeah.
Did he do anything during this event?
Yeah, he hit the whisper in the wind. Yeah.
his normal style. I think he did something to the outside as well, and the finish was pretty clever too, where he went for the twist of fate, and it was countered into the skull crushing finale. That was actually pretty good. I felt like that was kind of a believable finish, where it was kind of out of nowhere. I mean, you're probably not picturing Miz advancing in this tournament, and if this was the goal, kind of like Vince tries to do with his counter booking that I would book for like King of the Ring tournaments, this went a ways towards reestablishing Miz maybe as that final little step back to the top player from the kind of mid-card intercontinental level, save for what happened in the end of the tournament, as we'll get to. I felt like this was getting the Miz there. This was a great match, given the time frame between the two, and I think, given the fact that maybe this, as a rivalry or feud in WWE, maybe not the most appealing, this match in this forum, what they did, it worked for me. It worked at least.
So as far as the not to go back again, because Jeff Hardy's kind of like an old wrestler too, like you were saying, Ramrock. He's been around for a while. Do you think that do you think he showed off his skills like his old days in this match? You guys, do you think he showed the crowd the Jeff Hardy that they remember?
No, I think Jeff Hardy is doing what he can. You can definitely tell he has slowed his pace down considerably. Honestly, Miz was the ring general in this match, hands down.
Yeah, he didn't need to. It just wasn't necessary. This wasn't the Hell in the Cell that he had with Randy Orton, which really was, pretty brutal. Probably harken back to maybe some of the old Jeff Hardy. It's just like you're not going to probably see that Jeff Hardy again. Realistically, he knows it. If he's looking at his brother Matt, who you mentioned, Matt actually I think has got a serious hip injury and stuff. Hip and back injury that's basically put his career in jeopardy. So I think if he's paying attention to what his brother's going through right now, it's probably wise that he definitely curtails a lot of the craziness he's been doing over the years.
So is the life of a wrestler, right, guys? That's what happens to you when you wrestle that many years and do that much stuff. So, all right.
I mean, Rock can probably test more than anybody. I'm pretty sure he feels it on a daily basis. Day of his life,
Yeah. So we've got the SmackDown bracket settled. It's going to be in the semifinals. So it's going to be Miz versus Rey Mysterio. Next up, the Raw first round is Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley. This match,
last show too.
I got to tell you, Bobby Lashley. I don't understand why WWE can't get this guy over. He was huge in TNA, one of the biggest monster champion heels, but for whatever reason, his act feels tired in WWE. It was really cool seeing Seth Rollins bring back what they're calling the Stomp. It used to be called the Curb Stomp. Ending felt really awkward to me in this match. So Seth has got Bobby Lashley in the corner, and he just kind of does like a roll through and then hits him with the Stomp, and the match is over. It seemed very abrupt. What are your thoughts on that, MC?
I just feel like, and then as I mentioned last show, I just feel like if you're building this guy back up as a monster, and I'm not saying they're not doing a good job, as annoying as Leo Rush is, and as the hype man for Lashley, I feel like that slowly, especially with the announcers, hopefully helping and as well doing their job, you're slowly trying to get this guy over as a heel, as a nasty heel. He looks like $1 million. He always has. The guy is jacked. The mean streak, you got to book him in situations to highlight his mean streak and get him to be as vicious as you can. Because, there's a certain zombie-esque nature to Lashley that he's got to kind of get over because his facial expressions aren't very good. Everything else about him, the guy could tear all three of our heads off. MMA fighter, everything. He looks like $1 million. So I wouldn't want to make him angry. I think you just need to show that side of him better, and they need to put him in a situation, in situations that will help him do this. And I don't feel like booking him in a first round loss to Seth Rollins did him any favors at all. And do you think Bobby could be a little pissed off the fact that he was an afterthought or a second thought because he's taken Cena's spot? Yeah, I mean, that could be played up if they followed up on it correctly on Raw, but since he's still in the middle, I think, of battles with